but it looks like we've got quite a few folks here, and that's fine with me. These workshops are just exactly that, more of a workshop. So we want to spend some time in any kind of discussion that you'd like to have or questions that you have. We go over things kind of quick sometimes. This is a brand new software platform for us. We have changed our kind of format, the way we're doing the teaching and some of this. This is for our Reachkeep Academy. I do see some of you are Academy students. We do open some of these up to our regular folks that are on our mailing lists and that we run into on social media. So you are welcome to be here. This is a live broadcast right now because you're here and I'm here and we're all live, but you might be watching this later as a replay. And just kind of a heads up for those that are catching it later as a replay, we do have some offers that they're not really offers, they're some resources. We're going to give you some links and some of that, which will come when we conclude the webinar. You will get an automatic email to everyone that attended, and we will get you some links. If you are watching this as a replay, those probably are not going to be available. You could email us at info@reachkeep.com, and we'd certainly be able to give those to you. But the links and the email system is a little bit different. So we're very excited about this. This is a whole kind of an interesting thing, talking about your preaching calendar and some of that. Let me just make it clear, we're not really talking about your preaching. We're not talking about your content, the way that you present things. Hopefully you're doing well at that and you have good content, good delivery methods and all that. We do recommend that you spend some time listening to yourself. In fact, the COVID thing really made it good because a lot of us had to do video for a long time, and you watched yourself online. You go, oh, did I say that? But you are free to kind of add your own content to this. We're talking about more how we kind of place things and how we kind of integrate the calendar with the maturity of the church and really the pastoral leadership of where you feel you need to go and how you need to get people there. And so that's kind of the focus of what is going on here. In my notes, I just want to also one thing mention, if you're catching this on a replay, the replay is only going to be around for about 7 days is the way that's going to work for us. And so we wanted to kind of just let you know that right off the bat. We do have another webinar coming up next weekend on Saturday. We'll give you some information about that. You'll be mailed some information, but that's about how to get guests to return to church, to come back. And that's usually one of the biggies. I talked to a guy the other day. He knew exactly. I mean, it was like 52 or something like that. First time guests that he had the year before, but he didn't have any of them come back. I mean, he knew that too. And we want to talk about how to get those back. And that will be next Saturday. We're going to do that. We're kind of changing some times around. And then towards the end of the month, we have a webinar, which is one that we've done before, but it's kind of one of the most popular teachings that we do here at Reachkeep. It's how to reach young families when you don't have any, or you don't have many. And so we're going to kind of talk about how to start from scratch, or if you just got a few, how to kind of really get going. So you'll get links and appropriate emails to that come out on our list. So thank you very much for being involved here. Let's go ahead and jump into some things here. You're in the right place if you're bivocational, and we find that this type of teaching here that we're doing means a lot to the people that are they've got a whole nother job and a whole nother life besides church. And so sometimes the preaching calendar, the importance of having it organized needs to be perfect as well. You just got to really kind of really focus on that, and it's hard when you're bivocational. If you're one of those easily distracted people, this is for you as well. You get kind of caught up on some other things, and the preaching, the physically preaching, you get it done, but the preparation time has been shortened, and it's not quite as cohesive across the year as where you want it to go. You're also the right place, if you're kind of one of those providentially led procrastinators. In other words, everything gets pushed off to tomorrow because there's so many things in the ministry that need to happen. And you've got to counsel, you got to do the funeral, you got to visit that person, you got to prep, you got to do the kids thing, you got to, get the furnace working for Sunday morning. All of those things happen there. And a lot of that, again, seems to be providential. And I'm not really sure if providential and procrastinator theologically go together or not. You can settle that one, but you kind of probably know what I'm talking about there. The last one would be is if you just keep running out of time. There's not enough week, there's not enough day, there's not enough month, not enough year, all of those kind of things. This is kind of for you. So this is kind of where we're going. Real quick, I'm the pastor here, or I should say, actually, the right wording here is I'm the founding pastor of Sinclair Baptist Church. Just recently, stepped away from the leadership position. The main leader is now Josh Spencer. In fact, I think he's online with us here. But Pastor Spencer is now the main lead pastor, and I am doing a lot more Reachkeep and filling in the gaps and teaching Financial Peace University over the next 9 weeks and doing whatever I can to support my church. So, but this is our church building in the background. We're Sinclair. Like the gasoline plant, yes, for Sinclair is just, a couple hundred feet behind the church. So that's kind of where we are. It's a church plant. We're 13 years old, doing really well. Little town, 400 and some, and another town of 8,000 nearby that we draw from. And we draw really from the whole county. But that's kind of where we're at. You can, you probably know a little bit about us because we've been around. So anyway, but I'm Pastor Mike, they call me, or Mr. Mike, or founding Pastor Mike, or Pastor Emeritus. That didn't sound very good. I didn't like that. But anyway, that's my job. Let's just jump into kind of an overview. We're going to talk about the kind of the problems to solve, which I already mentioned them just a little bit. We're going to talk about why a calendar, why knowing where you're going is so important. We're going to cover this whole idea and how this is the nuts and bolts of it's going to be right here. The how to develop that preaching calendar and some of the things that you need to do to kind of get that. And then we're going to give you a bunch of resources. Sprinkled throughout is a Q&A time that you can catch just at any time. And we'll help you out with that stuff. At anything that you want to ask about, we'll jump on that. So let's just jump into the problems here, and this just got one kind of sheet here. Yes, Tannen, did you have a question?
Yeah, before we dive too deep, I just threw a poll up. I'm kind of curious where everyone that's here kind of fits in the official church hierarchy. Are you the lead pastor, the assistant pastor, a deacon, and if you would just there's a poll that should have just popped up there, and if you would over the next couple of minutes just go ahead and answer that question. Unfortunately, our poll software only allows one answer because I know some of you fit in many positions. You're the head pastor, you're the board member, you're a Sunday school teacher, you kind of the head janitor and maintenance guy. But it will only allow you to fill in one answer. So if y'all could just go ahead and answer that poll for me, it actually helps us to know who we're helping. So this can actually be very useful information for us. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. We'd like to know that. Also, just to let you know, we just sent out that all the links to everything we're going to cover later on. Those just should hit your mailbox a few minutes ago. We thought they'd go out 12 minutes after the end, but we got them set to go 12 minutes after the beginning. So they are, so they're there, Tannen. We got them delivered already. I just looked at them, and those links we touched on all those. So we're good on that. All right. Hey, let's talk about the problems here. One is the short preparation time. If you're speaking quite a few times during the week, you just can only, especially if you're bivocational, you can only stretch your study time so far. And we want to kind of stretch that, make that study time much longer. And if you know where you're going, this is going to really, help you out with the study time. If you know in, March that you're speaking on forgiveness or whatever, can start to get those illustrations. You come across verses, you can add those, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The idea of indecision, nobody wants to be an indecision, and we talk to a lot of pastors here with the Reachkeep Academy. We do a considerable amount of coaching online, spend all sorts of time really talking to pastors all over the country and really North America. And I was on a call just the other day with those guys from Great Britain, and very interesting stuff. But people, the pastors, many of them are like, I don't know what I'm going to speak on this coming Sunday. And that is not an efficient way to live. It's not, it's hard. I mean, and obviously you want to get the Holy Spirit's leading and the guidance of, where you think you need to go with the maturity of your flock, but too much indecision is not a healthy thing. The third thing we're going to try to focus on, spend a lot of time, hopefully, talking about this, or actually you need to spend more time thinking about this, is this idea of integration. And it's like that the integration of what you are teaching on is not happening. So, for example, if you wanted to do say you're doing something about helping, being involved, volunteering, okay? Just plain old, you need volunteer, serve the Lord, be a servant, servant evangelism, servant spirit, servant this, servant that, and you're talking about that. Something that you'll want to do tied to that sermon is have an announcement that would say, oh, by the way, Tuesday we have a work day, or Wednesday we're going to go to the park and do a service, and next Friday we're going to go out and visitation, or I need you volunteers to do that. When we have our messages and we get very tight on things, and we don't really have it all put together, just with the message comes at the last moment, the integration pretty much disappears, because it is hard to make all of that stuff happen. Okay. For example, I'll give you another one. If you're wanting to recruit more workers for your, children's program, you preach a message about we need to reach the children, let the little children come unto me. It would be appropriate then to have some type of, with your Sunday school team, hey, we need some more workers. We need a person in the nursery. We need someone in the 5th grade. We need a man to work with the middle school. And you'd need to have those things. Those are the answers to your sermon. So the sermon isn't always come forward and just kneel and pray at the end and go home. A sermon is to sign up for something, to get involved in something, is to be involved and to really do something. And if you don't have it if you put it this way, if you're a last minute prep, you're distracted, you're running out of time, you won't have time to integrate those things. And so thus your sermons kind of end, and they have kind of a dead end to them. A person might get like, yes, I'm willing to be a volunteer, but if you don't have anything ready for them to do, it's not a good scenario. So the integration is an important thing. And then the last problem that really want to do is kind of eliminate this overload. I talked to a pastor the other day. He did a Sunday school, a Sunday morning, a Sunday night, and a Wednesday night. So he had 4 things. And it was actually, we were chatting about it, and he's like, oh, I'm okay. I can make it. And I got a little series I'm doing here, and I'm going through this book of the Bible here. And these 2 are a little harder to figure out. But, we were talking, and I was then talking to his wife, and she said, he is burning out in study. Okay. All he does is study. He doesn't get to pastor. He doesn't get to go out and do things. He doesn't get to be all the other things, because all he's doing is studying. And I don't think that that's really a healthy scenario. And so we want to try to eliminate some of those things. So let's jump to any Q&A if you might have that. I'll just you can type those in that chat box. And Tandem, can they see that box on the side? Is that pretty easy for them to do? And a lot of them are on a phone, so I'm not sure on a phone if the chat box is beneath. You might kind of check on that and kind of cue them on where to put a question, and then I'll just jump to the next one in just about 60 seconds.
Yeah, we never tested this on a phone or a tablet, so I'm not exactly sure where that shows up, because I know when we do the Facebook Lives, all the reaction stuff's on the right on the computer, but it's at the bottom on the phone. So I'm honestly not real sure. I do have the answers to our poll, though.
Oh.
And 100% of the people who responded to our poll are head pastors. Now, I don't know if that's 1 people or 100 people that answered the poll. It doesn't tell me that. But I do know everybody who responded is a head pastor.
A senior pastor. Cool. All right, good. Well, senior pastors, if you have any question on your phone, it appears to be at the bottom. It looks like you can type in a chat. There's a little button that says chat mode, and you can type in if you have any questions about things. So we'll get into sort of the why of a preaching calendar here. And then if you got some more questions, we'll have a break here in just a second to do this. All right. The Bible talks about us as far as feeding the flock of God properly. And of course, there's many scriptures, Peter talks about feed the flock of God, which is among you, that concept. And of course, we are referred to as, shepherds or under shepherds. In Acts, Paul was talking about to the flock, which the Holy Spirit had made you an overseer, that you feed the church of God. And I want to talk to you just a little moment here about sheep. Okay. I was talking to Tanem yesterday. He's like, why are you putting sheep pictures up? It's like, because there's some very important things I want to talk to you about sheep. In my first former life, before I became a minister, I was a farmer, and I went to college, and I have a college degree in sheep. Okay, it's called ovine management technology. And, swine are pigs and equine are horses and bovines are cows and ovine is a sheep. Okay, so these are some ovines that you see here in front of you. And sheep you don't just throw them the same kind of food all the time. As a wise shepherd of the flock, there are many things that have to do with sheep that you need to manage carefully, and they don't eat the same food all the time. And so the idea of just like consistency is, they want to eat consistently like every day, but the difference of the food content is different with the sheep. The large sheep that you see, the larger picture, those are a bunch of ewes, okay, the female sheep, and they are eating grain off the ground right now. And it could have been a feed trough or whatever, but likely what is going on in this photo and the way we did it and the way it's supposed to be is right before you're getting ready to breed the sheep, you feed them a bunch of really some high total digestible nutrient stuff, some really some high energy stuff like corn or cracked corn or something like that, because that helps them get ready for pregnancy. It helps them to ovulate more and have more twins and more triplets and all that. And so for like 2 weeks before that time, you feed them different than you have fed them the rest of the year. Okay, you give them a bunch of different stuff. The little picture in the right corner there is a mama ewe with a lamb. And when the mothers are milking, you obviously have to make sure that they get good food, but also you need to make sure that all that food is, especially when the lambs are very young, that food is close to home, because in other words, you don't put them in a massive pasture or out on the range when they have little baby lambs, because you don't want them running and walking and exercising away all their energy. You want them giving their energy to their young at that time. So there's a different feeding schedule during the time that they're having, right when they're having lambs and they got little baby lambs. And then the bottom picture, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but those are, sheep out on the range. And this is, once your lambs are up, 50 pounds or whatever, they're big, they can go out on the range. The ewes can eat different stuff. And before they get bred, again, it takes about 5 months for them to have a baby, and most of them just have one a year is kind of how it goes. But during that time, they have a whole different set of feeding as well. You can go with a more of a minimalistic type feed for your sheep. You don't have to just some regular hay or pasture. And they can move a lot more. They can do stuff. Now, all of this comes from the world of sheep, and it basically means that as a wise shepherd, there are different times you want to feed different things. And that's what I want to focus on, because you as the under shepherd are the ones that know what needs to be happening with your church, and you have to analyze. You have to sit down and kind of think that through. So it is very important for you to feed the church, your people, properly. And I jumped to the next slide, but back to still on this thought is like, if you have a lot of young believers, that's totally different than if you have, a mature flock. If you have young families, okay, those are different things. If you are running, a lot of rescue type ministry, from addiction type things, different feed goes out there. So just an important thought. The next one here in the preaching calendar, why to do that? It's just more effective for the whole idea of you doing your preparation, and you are thinking about where you're going ahead of time, and you know what's going on, and you're not like just making it through that Sunday and then making it through the next Sunday. Based on the fact that you've looked at your flock well, that, hey, I need a series. I need something on evangelism. I've got to really kind of help out our people on evangelism. And you can tell by the flavor of this that we're very series based on some of this philosophy. We believe that you can expositionally preach through series. Okay, so you can exposit the word through a series instead of verse by verse. It's verse with verse. You kind of combine a bunch of verses, but you are still giving what the Bible intends, but you are really thinking it through, and you are far better prepared when you have had much more preparation time to get yourself ready. This idea of putting all the pieces together and all the little slots there. Let me show you. This is a sample. We're going to give you a copy of this, and I'm going to go through and blow it up so you can see it much closer in a little bit. But this is like one entire year of different things, and there are exposition scriptures in there. There are a series that go through books, but there's also some topical things that really help people grab hold of what they need, because you have a flock that needs to really, sharpen up on evangelism, and you're coming into a growth type season where, like, hey, we'd like to get some of these more young families in, back to school thing, then you need to teach that at that time, and it helps you kind of put all the pieces together in the right place. It helps then also with this integration, and this is where you are really working with your team, and you're working with your other people and your Sunday school people and your outreach people, whatever. And I understand in some churches you might be all of those. Okay. I do understand that, but you and I need to figure, and when we started our church, there was like nobody. I was the guy that did all that, but we took the sermons and we integrated them into service. We have a little acronym that we use here, and we don't have it on the screen. It's not necessarily part of this, but I wanted to bring this in. There's really three kind of things that we do, and in every program that we look at here in our church, we go, is it doing this? Is it doing this? Is it doing this? Okay, all three of these things. And the first one is the information. In other words, giving them Bible info. We're giving them the right stuff, from the heart to a heart. We're giving information. We are building relationships. In other words, the people in that program, that Sunday morning, the kids program, the teens, whatever, they have ample time to build relationships and have discussion and get advice, all those counsel. Those are all good Bible words. And the last one is the word service. And this is where this integration is. It's like, where the rubber meets the road. It's like you can preach all about missions, okay, but the integration of the service part is when somebody takes and pays, or goes on a missions trip, or they help a missionary that's there buy new tires for their vehicle, or they give through a faith promise type of program. So integrating all of those messages, and it's real easy to remember those. It's IRS, okay, one of our favorite initials. Information, relationships, service. It's really a filter to run everything through. And the last one here is the integration is really, the service part is where the integration of a message starts to come. In other words, every one of you that preaches on missions, You want there to be integration into the offering plate, integration into missions trips, integration into, a commitment to the missionaries, when they come to visit and you do missions banquets or you do things. That's what I'm talking about. That stuff comes when you think and plan longer ahead. And that's why we believe in having, something like this, kind of laid out for your year. And you may not have a whole year laid out, but you need to probably know at least 6 months, kind of pretty much where you're going. It's putting all those little pieces together, all the little cogs kind of go together, and making all of that happen. The last one here is it is just less stress. When you've got a preaching calendar, you know where you're going, and you are not in the mode, and this happens all the time, happens to me. I'm reading my Bible for devotions, and I go, boy, that'd fit in that Wednesday night. Oh, that'd fit there in that message. Oh, I'll use that at that couples thing I'm speaking at. Instead of just sitting and spending time with the Lord, sometimes your sermons just keep coming out of the Bible, which is where they need to come from. And it's really kind of got to be a balance there. But you and I need to have that time where that's not stressful. It's not sermon prep. It's just you and the Lord spending time together. And so this is just a real important thing, kind of going over those things. Why we do that? Because the people and sheep need different kinds of food, different types of things. We get better when we prepare better. We're just much more effective at it. We really are able to integrate things much more, and we have a lot less overall stress in sermon preparation. And again, I talk with pastors all over the country, and all the time, every week, almost every day, it seems like. And the idea of them being stressed out over sermon prep, and not that they don't want to do it, and not that you don't love it, but it's just like, it gets to be an awful lot. So we want to give you a few things on kind of how to kind of work your way through. So let's just stop for a second. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Tana, why don't you see if we got any questions there? We'll go through that real quick. You're looking fine today. What's your hat say? I didn't even see it there. Oh, 307. Oh, that's our area code. I think we're the only state in the nation still with one area code. Wyoming is kind of small potatoes here as far as the number of people. But do we have any questions coming in, or did you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any that have shown up yet, which reminds me, if you do have questions on anything that we've covered, or you want us to dig a little deeper on something, just go ahead and put that in that chat box there. Mike, I do have my mic on, right? You can hear me, yeah? Michael.
I can hear you, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Since I can't hear myself, sometimes I can't tell. But if you do have any questions, just go ahead and write them in there, and I will see them, and we can answer them during sections like this and at the end. But hey, I just want to say, I'm not really a mainline preacher, but I have, Mike has let me into the pulpit a few times over the past 10 years or so. And my favorite part about having everything planned, the less stress. Number 4, less stress. That is key for me, especially like on days like today, where I knew I had this thing coming up and I had clients calling and parts I had to order, and daughter doing standardized testing, and Mike calling and the software not working properly, and everything just kind of boom, all at once. And I know that happens to you guys all the time too. It's just everything hits. Oh, and Mike, you were saying the same thing happened to you yesterday when you pulled up to the church and everybody kind of needed you all at once, and you had a conference call, and and having everything kind of planned out. You don't do all your research for the next year in July, but you kind of know where you're going. Makes it easier to get there, and there's a lot less stress when you know where you're going to begin with. Because if you know you're going to be doing a 4-week sermon on, hey, Mike, pan to your left a little bit. No, your camera, Mike. Pan your camera to the left a little bit.
There we go.
Say you're going to be doing a 4 or 5 week sermon on hurting and how to deal with that and biblical solutions for that. And you're going to do that in, say, March. But in July that you're going to be doing it, you can be picking stuff out that you see, for 9 months. And so by the time you finally get there, man, you're really, really ready. And it's much less stressful when you can plan stuff out like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right. We want to jump to some of let's see here at the red button here, get to how do we do all this stuff and how does it work? How does it work? Now, it's going to work a little bit different for everybody, some of those things. For me, one of the first steps is I really think about what my flock needs, okay? Take heed to the state of your flocks. Look well to your herds. I believe is in Proverbs that we need to make sure we know this. Now, there is a little bit of pushback in this area from times that we don't want to always be asking what the church needs and then responding. It's not like, the couple ladies were fighting, so I need to preach on gossip and fighting or whatever. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the general overall maturity of your church and how you and I need to kind of think what that would be. In other words, every preacher looks at his congregation and then figures out how to reach them. You do that all the time. If you were to teach a junior church, you would go, well, how many kids and how many girls, how many boys, how many kids? What, are they little bitty kids like kindergarten, or are they like middle school kids? Or, we would ask those questions. I just got the opportunity to speak I'm doing something over in Oregon here in a little bit, some training. And I was asking the pastor about the maturity of the church and where they're going, and just trying to figure out I can know what I'm doing. But this idea of thinking through the maturity of your church, rather than thinking what book of the Bible would I want to go through, because I've never done, Job before. That would be kind of good. I don't think they've ever got that. I think, in the way that we do this, and we have a church that is reaching young families. We have new young families, new people every single week. It's just an exciting thing. And it's the idea, because we're feeding them, we're giving them what they need. Now, you can create a topic list, and I'll just make a couple of them here. On the list on the left here, you can see, you need to preach on forgiveness. You can do 5 weeks on forgiveness, or anger, or fatigue, or failure, or any of those. In the middle, these are some more practical things on parenting, stepkids. You probably have a huge amount of stepkids, and it is a huge problem in our churches. You probably need to talk about some of that, divorce, workplace, etc. You can see some of those. Maybe some more, more doctrinal type things, like, the mix of prophecy and, spiritual growth and, eternity, heaven, gospel. And I think underneath our picture there says missions is what it says. But all of these are important topics that you can add in there, and you can make all that happen. And you need to think those things through. And I could give you 100 more in all of these lists. And just, this is really that prayer type of thing. And by the way, not a problem like having a book in there, like we did Joshua a couple of years ago. We did a whole thing of Joshua. Well, we've done several books. We did Titus, and we did that. We went through those as well. Now, we themed them, and we made application about the needs and whatever personal needs that were there. But you can add books in there. That's just a great way to do that. So kind of think of where your people need to mature and what they need to have, and then kind of work those in. And again, we'll go through this in a minute and show you kind of the balance of relational series versus doctrinal series versus outreach type series. So think maturity. So that's an important one. The next one is to get input. And I believe that all of us is smarter than one of us. And from the very beginning of our church plant, I've always solicited ideas from other people. Now, there's times when I solicit them and it's like, nah, that's not where I'm going. That's a little different. I'm not headed there. Don't be afraid to have some teamwork and put some things together. I found this picture a few years back of one of our Sunday school teams, or the Sunday school teams. All our kids workers got together, and they are sitting there, and I was involved in that meeting too, and I stood back to take a picture because it was so cool to see this. everybody was sitting there. What do our kids need? Where are we going? What kind of things do we need to teach them? How could we do something special? When would we do something special? What type of training do we need for our workers? But solicit input. For many of you pastors, lead pastors, you've got some deacons and some leadership people there. You've got some well-trusted staff type people, and just say, well, hey, where do you think our church really, has some gaps in it? What are some areas of strength that we need to have? How could we be better? Let's see. What do these new people need? Okay, I wrote this one down. How are we doing? This is kind of a sort of an open thing. How are we doing as a body? Okay. In other words, you've got like a deacons meeting. You're kind of got to talk about missions or your new carpet money or whatever, but how are we doing as a body? And you kind of pick up some stuff there. I believe it's important to have meetings such as this where you start to do that, where you really grab hold of things. I want to give you a good reference book to buy, and this is called Sticky Teams, and it is, you go to Amazon, type in Sticky Teams, and you're going to find it. Larry Osborne's the guy, not exactly my stripe in every single way, but it is it's a good book, and I recommend that you go grab that thing. Let's see, did my whiteboard turn on, Danum, or did you turn that on, or did I hit that? Maybe I hit that. There we go. All right. Anyway, yeah, it is. And I was just going to see if I could.
I boobered.
I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't.
I'm not sure how I ended up with that.
Right there. There we go. Oh, I knew I could draw on a screen there. So, Sticky Teams. Osborne, like I say, good guy. Met him. Asked him some questions. Spent some time with him. But this book will really get you a long ways in building teams that work together, instead of just do kind of like say governance type things. You have teams that are really focusing on the ministry that goes on in the church. And a lot of our teams kind of, like I say, they've kind of moved towards sort of governing type decisions, but to really kind of get them on the same page and get their spiritual discernment that comes from them, that's a good thing. So that is the idea of getting input. And you need to kind of, it's like, hey, I was thinking of maybe teaching or going this direction. What do you think about that? Oh, that's good. Yeah, let's talk about that. Or, hey, how about if we, so I think it's a little bit more this direction. I've always enjoyed those kind of meetings with our people and have been helpful. I want you to learn too now to focus on, and this is, we're getting more into the calendar stuff, focus on the big parts of the calendar. Let me put up kind of the biggies here, okay?
What did we do there?
The New Year season, okay? Kind of those first several weeks of whatchamacallit. The Valentine's, and I put Valentine's because everyone knows it's right in the middle of February, but either side of Valentine's Day kind of right in there, not like a Valentine's banquet. Of course, Easter is a big season, and of course, kind of floats back and forth. The start of the summer, the end of the summer, the start of school, and for some of you, not sure where you're at, but summer ending and school starting are almost identical, but they're not in other places. I'll explain that in a moment. And then the whole holiday season, kind of from Thanksgiving all the way into Christmas. And let me give you a couple gaps here where you're going to see some good momentum things, and you want to have some of your best series, and you want to really kind of think this through here. Between New Year's and Valentine's Day, right in there. In fact, that's kind of where we're at now. From about the 10th of January up through Valentine's Day, that is a great momentum time. It's a great time to get some of your best teaching and some of your best things can happen right there. Because right during the last few weeks of the year, as you know, I'm talking about like Christmas and New Year's, it's a lot of travel, a lot of people gone, a lot of hecticness. But when you're planning your calendar, it's like, what can I do? The next one is the Easter thing, starting with Easter. And we always recommend that you start a series on Easter. Don't finish a series on Easter. Okay, you can preach the resurrection, and it's kind of tricky. You got to kind of finish Calvary and the Easter and some of that. You can start with the resurrection, though, and you can move into a whole new series, because you will get guests that come on Easter. And Easter, we have people come Christmas and Easter just like everybody else does. It's like, well, praise God, man, if they're going to come, I'm happy to have them. And for some of them, they're going to come that Easter, and they're going to make that decision that they're going to continue to come and keep coming, because you're giving them decent stuff, and they're really grabbing hold, and they built some relationships, and they found a place to serve, that type of thing. So the momentum season's right after Easter. And then your other big momentum one is right after school starts, kind of in that fall kind of time. So you can get some good momentum. So you want to have, if you're thinking about teaching these different topics, all the different things, or the ones that we had up there a few minutes ago, which ones would fit better in each of those places, and kind of think that through. Now, there's some, those are the kind of the big parts. There's some things, though, with the integration that are kind of what I call sort of the heavy lifting portions of a church. In other words, you want to teach more, you want to train your people more, you want to have more activity, you want to have like a missions conference, and have their people there every night. You want to do a big evangelistic meeting. Those are heavier things to do. As far as what I mean by heavier, they take scheduling, they take people, they take finances, they take a lot of prep, all that kind of stuff. You need to think those things through, and the place to kind of plug those in a calendar, in the natural flow of people, okay, is like either side of Valentine's Day, right? In that whole Valentine's, the whole month of February is really a good time. Up until Easter, there's some good stuff. We always do like kids worker training. We have a big children's worker training thing that we've done, several years. We do that right around the last of February, 1st of March, because people aren't like caught up in 100 other things. I mean, if I tried to run a giant kids training type of a deal, or an evangelistic meeting, or a giant missions conference like the week after Christmas or the week before Christmas, how well do you think that would go? Okay, yeah, it's not gonna be something that's gonna go over very well. So those heavy lifting seasons are where you put some of that integration stuff in after Easter. After Easter, up until about Mother's Day, but not any further, too much further, because you start to get into graduations and all the end of the school things. And if you're reaching new young families, okay, like we teach, if you're bringing in a lot of those, the graduation season, I mean, there's a musical thing here at the elementary school, and there's one at the middle school, there's one at the high school, there's the play, there's the this, there's the that. The whole end of May up until the first week of June is just like, keep away. Okay, don't add anything extra in your integration side of it. The last one there is kind of after school starts and sort of before the holiday season. And I'll basically just kind of summarize it and say like October. October is a great time for missions conferences, a great time for financial, Peace University. We've done it during that time many times, all sorts of different things you can do. So you want to, as you're feeding your sheep, you want to figure out when you can do some of those things. That's kind of the, getting that thing. In other words, if you're with real sheep, there's a lot of things that you use to integrate to know when your ewes are going to lamb. Now they naturally lamb when they naturally. The breeding time for all kind of outdoorsy type of animals like that is when the days start getting shorter. That way, God made it so they have babies when the winter is finishing and the days are getting longer, and they're able to live a little bit better. But with sheep and other animals, you can kind of move those things around based on market prices, a lot of different things. But you want to think about all that. And you want to just sit down and go, when are my people really busy? And stay away from some of those things. For us, where we live in the mountains, in the winter, we have like 9 months of winter. Okay, so our summer is very precious, and we do a lot of activities in the summer. a lot of things that are very, but they are very specific and very tied to children's ministries, things along that line. And they don't include all the adults because a lot of people are gone. They're either camping or that is the time when you can actually get out of town and go visit somebody. So that's kind of what's going on. So you want to kind of think all those seasons through. So you want to target that heavy labor kind of stuff. So let's just jump into a couple resources that we have here for you because we're kind of running low on time. We have some YouTube training videos. We have 3 of those videos that already, the links should be in your mailbox already. The one that has to do with the engaging sermon series is one that's going to really help you kind of like go, oh, man, you can't do that on a Saturday night or a Friday. You got to think that out in like a week or 2 or 3 or 4 ahead of time. That's a good video just for that. There's also a video there, a YouTube video that deals specifically. Well, actually, I think I've got the pictures up. I'll show them to you here. Let's see. Let me jump ahead. Okay, that's the Engaging Sermon Series. We got one on creating the fill-in-the-blank sermons, and then worship service engagement. Going to this one here. Let me get back to the right one. That one there, the sermon series one, we sent you a link with a special paper, and I'll show you that in just a moment. I want to get to, and I know I'm jumping way fast here. I wanted to get to this 1-year sample preaching calendar that we put together for you. And I made this specifically, went back a few years. This is pretty much all from one of our years that we had, kind of added a couple things and tweaked it a little bit. And I made it, if you notice, it has 12 months going this way and 4 weeks going over that way. That's only 48 weeks. It is not a full normal calendar with the 52 weeks, but it sort of gives you the gist of what is going on here. And I wanted to go through that. At the beginning here, and I'm not sure if I can draw on this or not, okay? My, let's see, Tim, oh, maybe I got to make it red, get the color. I'm sorry, I was just doing a little something techie here. Okay, at the beginning, now that's not working for some reason. We'll shut it off. At the top here, these ones in the dots, this is a series I did a few years back, exposition, Psalm 23. Okay, did 6 weeks, 6 verses. I mean, there it is. It was just all the things on how to handling stress. Okay, stressful time of the year in January, but it was basically, and you can kind of see we had an intro. I belong, I can rest, I will follow, thou art with me, a bright future. Those were all based on the verses that were in there. And so that's just a good, like I say, Bible exposition. Then we jumped into a short little relationship series called How to Do Me and You. And it was marriage. But marriage is a good thing. Marriage needs a good foundation. Marriage needs to get you going a good direction. And I've got the notes on all this. And the point is not that like I'd give you necessarily my notes, but the idea is that you can see like during that Valentine's season, you can do some good teaching. Also, right during that, where those pink ones are, that's where you have a little bit more flexibility for extra missions conferences and, the application kind of stuff. You might do a big banquet like we do. We do a big thing called Tea for Two right in there. That's just for our couples. If we tried to do that at other times of the year, it would not go as well. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. Then we jumped on this one, Countdown to the Resurrection. Lessons from the Upper Room, lessons from Gethsemane, lessons from Calvary. And this was just basically out of one of the Gospels. I forget which one we did. I think it was the Luke one, kind of went through and kind of gave some overview of all of those areas. We have a lot of brand new believers. So this was very young believers. And so explaining things to them in just the simplest ways, it's just a great thing. In fact, interesting, just sidelight, just a couple of days ago, Pastor Josh and I were down there, and we're talking to one of our families who's been coming to church here for a couple of years, but I mean, they're new believers. They really don't know anything. And the lady says, "Who is Gideon?" I heard about it. Someone asked about Gideon. Now, who's Gideon? And Pastor Josh and I were like, "Oh, you need to read the Judges," and he's talking about the fleece thing, and I'm talking about the 300 guys on the lantern, and Pastor Josh is acting out how they drank the water out of the stream. And, it was just like, it's so exciting when you have new people, and they're learning. They're Bible. What's that, Tatum?
Isn't Gideon the guy who gives away the Bibles?
Oh, the Gideons, yeah.
There we go.
Gideons, yeah, that's a different guy, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, we are having
All
a couple
right.
of
All right, one
difficult.
more. Now jumping into the eight.
Wow,
You're
you have
breaking up a little there.
time. I tried to send the links to
Couldn't
the
hear
YouTube
you.
videos.
Sorry about that.
I tried to send the links to the YouTube videos through the chat, but for some reason it is not allowing me to. And somehow you got rid of the blue filter we had over the slideshow there for a while. Don't know where that came from. But yeah, folks, we are sending links to those videos. I tried to send them up through chat and it just will not let me for some reason. Oh, hey, Mike, while we're talking about the calendar here, I'm gonna throw up this. We have a free sermon series planner that we'd like to get out to you. If you just click on, there should be a button there that says offers, and you can see this. There's a little blue button that says get it free. That will take you over to the Reachkeep website where you can get that and download that. That's completely free. It's something we wanted to give you guys to kind of help you out with that. I know you were planning on talking about that, but we're really kind of slim on time, so I wasn't sure if you'd make it. So I made sure I did.
I'll show them a picture. I made a picture of it here, and I'll show that. Yeah. Anyway, here's an Easter series. We started on Easter. It was called Vertical, and it was on the Book of Acts. We did the early portion of the Book of Acts up until kind of the Apostle Paul part, but up through about chapter 7 or 8, right through there. And so that, again, expositional type of thing, but it was really a lot of application, vertical mindset, vertical community, vertical moms. We did a Mother's Day thing in there, vertical living. Then we did a couple standalone sermons kind of in there. And I did one on how to take a great vacation. I did a standalone one on baby dedication, baby parent dedication. So we added that in there. So that's sort of a singular one. And then during June, July, and August, we had a month of this, a month of that, and a month of that. This was an entire family month, and with our number of young families here, we always try to do a month of family-oriented things and child rearing or whatever. Faithful Men was this one. Camp meeting days, attributes of God. That was all the omnipresent, omnipotent, all that stuff. We taught all those things. So we got a good doctrine series in there. And then we jumped, then that was September. We had a couple, a short one here. We had a standalone guest speaker on the Labor Day weekend. And then for 3 weeks, we did an evangelism series. And this is part of the integration. And that is because we knew on October 1st, we were going to be moving into, we need to invite people to church. We want to do back to school, back to church. We want you to, we want our church to grow and to reach some of those people that we've been inviting and haven't come yet. So we came up with a series, and that is the series. I think I'll turn the camera here again. That was this one right here, How to Handle a Hurt. And it was, just some real good things. Hurts happen, hurt by circumstance, hurt by decisions, hurt by a system, hurt by someone else, hurt by a friend. That was purely a verse with verse thing. It wasn't an exposition of a particular, book of the Bible, but it was a real good focus. And what we did in the 3 weeks before, right up in here, and I don't know if you can see that, but the white area there, the 3 weeks before, we did an evangelism series on, inviting people to church and go in the highways and hedges and compel them to come in. So, and then we jumped into the holiday season. These couple purple ones here, we did a Compassion Sunday, which was kind of the equivalent of missions for us at that particular year. And then we did a thing on the Christmas presents, and then we had a guest speaker at the end. Now, that was all done real quick, and we're going to, again, send you a copy of this. We have a PDF link. You'll just click it, and poof, it should load it up for you. But you can see how that works. So if you got any question and answers, you can write those, type those things in. Again, here are the YouTube videos. You don't need to write these names down. We're sending you the links on them. Creating fill-in-the-blank notes. We do a whole teaching on that specifically, how we do that. And then this one is on worship service engagement, just the ideas this one was really filled with ideas of ways to get people engaged in the message, not just like engaged, like stand up and sit down and sing. Those are normal things, but other ways that they can be engaged in the missions. Okay. Again, this is the one that's coming to you. And here, Tandem is the one you were looking for. We just sent you a link to that. It's in there as well, but I think we sent an offer. You can go right to our website and download this. It's a sermon series planner, and we got the blank side here. Can you see my mouse there, Tandem? Can you see a mouse moving on there? Okay. I don't know any way to do a pointer on there. Let's see if I can do a pointer.
I don't think so.
Click on that. There's a pointer. Oh yeah, I could be one of those NFL guys and talk about it. All right, this is the one. This tells you how to do it. This is a blank for you, so you can just kind of photocopy that one. And it's all the different things to help you plan a sermon series. So anyway, we promised we'd keep you here.
If
just a short amount of time. So 1 hour is our time. So anyway, these things should be arriving or have arrived in your box so far. So let me jump back to any Q&A, and then I'll just put up one last slide. Tandem, do you have any questions, or do we have any other ones that you have seen there?
Well, I have a question for our dear listeners. This was our first live webinar with this new